All right, ladies and gentlemen, here it comes, a tier list. This is going to be the final tier list. We are just a few short days away from the expansion launch. I will say I do think there's going to be more changes coming, but I'm going to give my honest and final tier list assessment. A lot of people have been asking me. It's been nonstop in the stream. Ven, when are you going to drop the newest tier list? When's the newest tier list coming? I figured I might as well do it. You guys love it so much, we might as well just do one more tier list. Now, I've been playing a lot of beta, and my opinion has changed on some of these things. So we're going to bring up the tier list. Here it is. Let's put it right into the middle of the screen. Things are looking good. Got everything ready. As always, we're going to do a few things. We're going to go add a row below. Change this one to tanks. So we'll put the tanks here. Okay. Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We got S, A+, B, C, and D. All right. Tanks. We're going to put them where they belong really quick to start off, okay? So if you guys didn't see my last tier list video, I guess it doesn't really matter that much. A+. You guys think we should do an A+? Maybe we should. Like something a little bit above A. Below S. I think it's fine. I think it's fine. I was considering that. All right, let me just put all the tanks here really quick. All right. Tank specs are all good to go. Guardian druids down here. This one is going to be more arena related, okay? I might make some comments on these regarding Battleground Blitz and stuff like that. If you guys are interested in, one specific class, I'll try to give you as much information as possible when I talk about it. We're going to start off with healers, okay? So for healers, I had multiple in S last time, and I've actually changed my mind. So in my previous tier list, the S tier was Preservation Evoker, Resto Shaman, and Resto Druid, and I think I'm going to pivot a little bit away from that. I still think that Pres Evoker is probably overall the best healer. Just the best healer. Overall, really good offense, really good healing. It's hard to take down. It's just super duper strong. The one thing that I'm going to increase is Disc Priest. So Disc Priest I had at A, but I unironically think it needs to be moved up. When it comes to like arena, Disc seems very strong right now. Yeah, people are doing extremely well with Discipline. I'm going to put it up to A+. We're gonna add a row, but we're gonna do A+. I'm doing it. Let me put this here, change this. This will be this color, and we're gonna put this at A+. A+. So I'm gonna move the power rankings for Disc Priest up just a little bit. We're gonna put this at A+, okay? Next healer we're gonna be going for is the second spec of Priest. I think I had Holy at A tier, but I'm actually gonna put it lower. So I'm actually lowering my power rankings here for Holy Priest. It's not bad. Like, good utility, a lot of the same stuff, right? You can go into Angel form, you can bomb out heals, you have decent offense. The biggest thing holding Disc back or Holy back right now is just a serious lack of throughput. Your healing just isn't that strong. Whenever I'm being healed by a Holy Priest, it just doesn't feel that good. So, as a result, I'm going to lower it from A to B. Okay? Next up, we have the Restoration Druid. I think I'm going to put it up here with the Discipline Priest at A. Not quite as good as the Preservation Evoker, but still quite good. Excellent throughput, excellent control. A good Resto Druid is going to be an absolute nightmare to deal with. But I still think just with how strong Preservation Evokers are, they're going to be able to potentially handle the Restoration Druid. So I'm going to put Restoration at A tier. And then below that, I am going to put Resto Shaman. Resto Shaman, I think, quite strong right now. Same kind of utility with, groundings and wind shears and good offense with lava bursts and, purges and lightning lassos and good control with the static field totems. And overall, the healing doesn't feel bad. So I think Resto Shaman for me is a solid A. Maybe slightly worse than Druid, slightly worse than Disc overall, but still quite strong. Mistweaver Monk. A lot of people are talking crap on Mistweaver Monk. A lot of healers are talking shit on Mistweaver Monk. And I think for me, Mistweaver Monk is good. I don't really mind it. I actually think it's better than Holy Priest. I think it's better than Holy Priest. I might even put it at A tier, to be completely honest with you. I know you guys probably think I'm totally coped out, but I think just because Mistweaver Monk has so much throughput, might be lacking a little bit on the offense, but I think when you combine kind of the power of casted Mistweaver Monk and Fistweaver Monk, how good it is in Blitz, I'm going to put it at A. I know that's crazy. I actually had it at S tier before, but I changed my opinion. We're going to put it down here at A with the Restoration Shaman. From what I've seen, and I've seen some good healers. Like I've seen Meat Monk, for example, play his Mistweaver Monk against the likes of Sea-Doo on that S tier Preservation Evoker and still be able to hold his own in game. So I don't think it's looking that bad. I've enjoyed my time on it, and I think it's a little bit underrated for the time being. Last but not least, we got the Holy Paladin, which I think is definitely better than Holy Priest, but it's going to be on that same kind of level of like the Resto Shaman and the Mistweaver Monk. Got great heals, some instant crowd control, isn't quite as well-rounded as like the Preservation Evoker and the Discipline Priest and the Resto Druid, but still offers its own kind of uniqueness. And I think it's been maybe my favorite healer to play overall. So yeah, healer balance is not feeling too bad to me right now. If Pres Evokers got slightly nerfed, I think, like if we had Pres Evokers slightly nerfed and Holy Priest slightly buffed, I think you'd actually have pretty decent healer balance. It's actually pretty decent right now, but it would be really, really good with just a few short changes. So in terms of healer power, this is how my power rankings are going to go. So Pres Evoker is going to stay S tier. We're going to move Druid to A+. We're going to buff up Discipline to A+. We're going to move Mistweaver Monk from S tier to A tier. We're going to move down Holy Priest to B tier. And everything else is kind of the same as last time. So remember, this is kind of my final opinion moving in. But once again, I just want to reiterate, Holy Priest is just tuning away from being good. Like they just need a little bit of help in terms of their throughput, and I think they'll actually be really solid. All right, so that's the healers. Next up, we can do, what should we do, range DPS? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so range DPS, I think currently the worst range DPS in the entire game is going to be Fire Mage. Fire Mage, unfortunately, is the worst DPS in the game. It's got a few things going for it. Well, the worst range DPS in the game. It's got a few things going against it. The first problem with Fire Mage is it's really undertuned. So overall damage is really extremely weak. And also you have to play Glass Cannon. So even though you're playing Glass Cannon and nerfing your health, you still do some of the worst damage in the entire game. So with that in mind, Fire Mage, I think, is just, it takes the cake for worst casted DPS at the moment. So I'm going to lower it from B to actually D. Maybe, I mean, we could maybe put it at C, but I think something has to be D. If the worst isn't going to be D, I mean, yeah, it's pretty bad. It definitely needs some love. But if it does get buffed, it'll probably be fine. We can go forward with Arcane Mage. So Arcane Mage, to me, it's personally my favorite range DPS spec right now. I think it's very strong in terms of, its mobility and its burst damage. It's a little bit harder to pull off, but when you're playing that Arcane Mage at like the tippity top level, I think it's a solid A. What do you guys think? A or A+? I think A. A is good. Like, A is really, really good. I'm not saying anything bad about Arcane Mage. I think it's absolutely great. So yeah, I would put it there. In terms of S tier mage specs, I think Frost is probably the best spec at the moment. I think Frost is probably the best range spec in the game. It's super easy to get the damage off. One caveat I would say about Frost Mage is I would be completely blown away if they don't nerf it or change it somehow. So if it stays in its current state, it's like Giga S tier. I think there's a very high chance that it gets some changes. We'll have to wait and see though. So If you like Frost, it's going to be good. Even if it gets some nerfs, it'll probably still be pretty good. So that's where I would put the mage specs right now. Arcane is a very solid A. Fire Mage is solid D. And Frost Mage is S. So that's where we're going to be putting the mage specs. Warlock specializations. I have been unbelievably impressed with Affliction Warlock. I think Affliction Warlock is super good. Probably feels the best. I feel like I say this often, but just in terms of overall quality of life changes, Affliction Warlock, I feel like, is looking very, very strong. Like with the buffs to Shadow Bolts and Haunts, and the fact that you have multiple schools of magic now, like, it is very good. I'm not going to put it at S tier, but definitely A+. I think Affliction Warlock is A+ for sure at this point. So yeah, I'm going to put Affliction to A+. I think it's going to be good in basically all forms of content. You insane damage. So that is looking good. The next one I guess we can do is Destro Warlock. Destro Warlock, I have very mixed feelings on. It's a really bizarre spec now. They basically... So, like, for example, Chaos Bolt does less damage than Shadow Bolt. It's like Affliction feels more like Destro. Affliction feels more like Destro to me than Destro does. Destro is kind of like a weird pseudo Affliction where you just jump around and use instant immolates, instant conflags, instant shadow burns, instant portals, and even if you get Chaos Bolts off, it doesn't feel that insane, at least on the beta. So I don't think... I kind of want to put... I don't think Destro's bad, but I'm leaning towards like B at this point. Like I think it'll situationally be good, but I think it's one of those specs that probably needs some adjustment in terms of where the damage is coming from. Because I think it has a little bit too much like kind of like piss instant damage and not enough, you know, hard casted damage that actually is a little bit scary. High B, low A feels accurate. Okay, we can move it up to A. I'll put it in B. Something has to be in B. I'll put it there for now. Next up, what do we got? Devastation Evoker. So Devastation Evoker, I previously had it at A, and I think I'm going to keep it at A. It's like a high A. Maybe you could move it into A+, but oh yeah, Demo. Okay, we'll skip this one. We'll go to Demo. So Demo feels like the damage overall is a little weak. In my personal experience playing Demo, the control of the specialization felt really strong. Shadow Bolts do quite a bit of damage. You still have a ton of control. You still bring Mortal Strike, so I think overall you're going to be pretty effective. I would actually rate it better than Destro for the time being. I don't think it's as good as Affliction, so better than Destro, worse than Affliction. I'm going to put it at A. I don't think it's bad at all. It's quite tanky, got good crowd control. Damage feels hard to stop, and the damage might be on a little bit of the lower side right now, but yeah, still feels pretty good. All right, next, what do we got? We're gonna go with a Devastation Evoker. I'm gonna put Devastation Evoker here in the A tier as well. Devastation Evoker does insane amounts of damage. It still has the one weakness of like, you know, you don't have maximum range, so I feel like there's going to be certain compositions that can kind of just do hit and runs on you and play max range and kind of avoid your damage, stuff like that. But yeah, to me, the spec feels like it does absolutely bananas damage. It's really, really fun to play too. So if you guys are looking for a ranged DPS that just absolutely pumps, I think Devastation Evoker is a really good option for the time being. Okay, so then we have Aug. I don't really have... What can we do for Aug? I guess for Aug, I'll use like the Guardian Druid. This is Aug for all intents and purposes. All intents and purposes, Aug Evoker I also think is really strong. Playing it, it feels really, really good. Still bring in kind of... Yeah, you can put it in the tank specialization. It actually does good damage. Like, Aug has really good burst. It's got decent consistent damage. Still brings in that team utility with bonus mana and shields and buffing your teammates and stuff like that. I would say it's like a solid B plus A. I'll put it at B. I think Aug, to me is slightly worse overall than Devastation, so I'm going to put it in that B slot. But if you're an AUG enjoyer, you don't really have to panic. I think it's quite good. All right, what do we have left? Shadow Priest. Shadow Priest is also quite good. Part of me wants to put it at A+, based off the thing. Here's the thing about Shadow Priest. So Shadow Priest, if you're a really, really good Shadow Priest, you can do a lot on the specialization. Like, it is really tanky, brings nice team utility, brings a ton of damage, lots of potential to end the game. But if you're kind of like in the middle of the pack, you know, you're playing at like 2K rating, you're just going to get like ran at by Windwalker Death Knight, and it's going to feel shitty. So this tier list is more for like, you know, what the class is capable at the max. And I think Shadow Priest is really, really strong. Like, a good Shadow Priest can do some serious work at the moment on the beta. Like, I've seen Envion in war games just basically win them all, always going like 5-1, 4-2 against some of the best players in the game. So I think it's good. Yeah, Shadow Priest looking solid. And the thing about Shadow Priest too is I feel like I don't really think it's gonna get nerfs, so I think it'll just stay strong. Next up, what do we have? Balance Druid. So Balance Druid, if you asked me before today, I would say, what did I have it at? I had it at A tier. I'm gonna leave it at A tier. So I think Balance Druid, to me, felt good today. Like, you still have good damage. It seems like your damage isn't bad. It's not as spiky as it was maybe in Dragonflight, but it's still not bad damage. And you still have all the control. You still have Root Solar Beam, you still have Cyclone, you still have Precog. It feels like you're pretty durable. I think it can't be worse than these specs in A tier. There's just no way. Yeah, there's just absolutely no way that it's worse than those specs. Maybe even A tier, depending on like what you're playing with. I have a funny feeling like if you're a Balance Druid and you're playing threes with like a Demon Hunter or a Rogue, like one of those melee DPS that can kind of be in their face and enable you a little bit more to get crowd control, like Boomkin's going to be very effective. So I would say A, maybe A+, but I'll leave it at A for now. I think it's good. What else do we got here? Marks Hunter? I had Marks Hunter at B tier, but I feel like it might be A. My opinion of Marks, it definitely doesn't seem... Maybe it's B tier? I'm gonna need help with this one. Like, what do you guys think about the Hunter specs? Armor's too high, but that's in pre-patch. I don't think armor's too high on beta. You can still just LOS Marks. I swear Rapid Fire does like 3 million damage, though. It seems like it does a lot of damage. I mean, maybe it still has like some of those marksmanship hunters where people just line you, you just die. But I think MM is really good. I would, yeah, my gut is telling me that Marks is in the A tier, so I'm going to put it at A tier. Seems like some people in the chat also agree with me, so, you know, conservatively, maybe B, but in my own experiences, Marks definitely feels like it brings the heat, it does a lot of damage. And yeah, if you're, this isn't like a pre-patch, this isn't pre-patch, this is beta, you know, armor values are weird, so Marks Hunters do significantly less damage, but I think in beta, it's definitely feeling good. Any more range DPS? We have Beast Mastery Hunter. Where did I have Beast Mastery Hunter before? I had Beast Mastery Hunter in C tier. Are we still feeling like Beast Mastery Hunter is C tier? I don't have much experience with this spec, fighting it or fighting against it. I really don't. So I don't... DM is terrible. It's D? It's as bad as Fire Mage? Really? Sag Fire Mage is down to B. All right, well, I guess, you know, if you guys are saying that Beast Mastery Hunter, I had it in C. I'll leave it in C for now. I'll leave it in C for the time being. The damage must be really bad. And survival. What do we have for survival? We had survival at A. I think survival is still pretty solid. I know one thing I will say about survival's A plus. Is it? I follow Bicmex, who's obviously a very famous and well-known survival hunter, and he complains a lot about survival, but I think he's mostly complaining about the fact that all of his abilities AoE now. So I think survival hunters have kind of gotten the mage treatment, where it's really hard to actually land your CC because everything just breaks it. But you guys are saying that it's A plus. It is. Bic makes skews the rating, survival and high rating games, but it's always Bic. Yeah, I'm gonna put survival at A. I feel I'm gonna leave it at A for now. I'm not. Yeah. A maybe B, like A minus, maybe B. Next up, I think that's all the range. Oh, Ellie Shaman. I think Ellie Shaman's really strong. I don't think I could put Ellie Shaman at S tier, but I'm thinking Ellie's around like an A plus spec. Ellie is dummy strong. A? You think Ellie's kind of middle of the pack with like Boomkin and Demo and Dev? Ellie does really good damn still. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm gonna put Ellie at A plus. I'm gonna put Ellie at A plus because although Lava Burst got nerfed, I've seen people play Earthshock builds, and Earthshock's hitting for like 1.5 million, and you can chain them together, and you still have all that Ellie disruption. They got a lot of quality of life changes with their rework. For now, I'm feeling like Ellie is pretty solid still. I think it's definitely on the level of like Affliction and Shadow Priest. Leave it there. I think that's all the range DPS. I feel very good about where everything is right now. Keep in mind, guys, I still feel the Guardian Druid is... So you see this Guardian Druid? This is AUG. Okay? We're going to have to like edit in like an AUG symbol there for the tier list. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we could do that post-processing, you know? Okay, so now we have melee DPS. Oh boy. So I think we can start off with what I think is the worst melee DPS, which is Enhancement Shaman. I'm gonna put Enhancement Shaman down at D. I do want to say a few things about Enhancement Shaman. Similar to Fire Mage, I think both Fire Mage and Enhancement Shaman are at the mercy of tuning. If the damage gets tuned in a positive direction for Enhancement Shaman, I think they could be very good. I fought against like Saul, and Saul has insane disruption. Like, Enhancement Shaman can be super obnoxious to fight against. The only downside of Enhancement Shaman right now is it doesn't do any damage. So if the damage gets buffed, we could see this potentially move to C, to B, to A. Like, I think the sky's the limit. But for now, the damage is so bad, it's garbage. Yep. So yeah, it's down there at D. So Fire Mage, Enhancement Shaman, down in the gutter for the time being. This is, yeah, we're talking about PvP. I'm a PvP guy. We're talking about PvP here. Okay. What do we have now? What is the best melee in the game in your guys' eyes? Fury? No, not Siri. I said Fury. Yeah, that's what I thought. So, I think there's a few things that are sleeper right now. I think I'm going to put Fury War up at S. When I think of like S tier melee right now, there's two that come to mind. Like S tier. S tier. I'm gonna be putting, like, from a melee perspective, you might not hate Unholy Death Knights, but yeah, I think for Fury Warrior, I'm gonna put it S tier, and I think Unholy Death Knight is S tier right now. Based off my own experiences, I think there's some other melee that are really strong, like Feral and stuff, but I think they could be in like the A+. Like Fury and Unholy just feel like the best melee overall right now. I'm gonna go ahead and rate Windwalker Monk. Windwalker Monk got a rework. I was feeling pretty discouraged about Monk with some of the changes, but by getting a little bit used to the changes, I think a little bit was a bit of growing pains, like some of the changes to your mobility and how you attack and where your damage is coming from. What did I have it at? I think I had it at B tier, but I feel like it's definitely got to be A. So I'm gonna actually promote Windwalker Monk from B to A. I don't think it's bad at all. It actually feels pretty good. You can be extremely disruptive with your Whirling Dragon Punch, and your burst damage actually isn't too bad. I think once you get full mastery gear, yeah, good secondary stats and stuff like that, it could help out. But I still think it's not overall as good as like a Fury Warrior. Okay, so Windwalker Monk I'm gonna promote to A tier. What are the other melee that I had? Rogues are an interesting one. We could do all 3 rogue specs right now. Just so tough because there's such a big difference between fighting like a good rogue and a rogue that's not as experienced, you know? But I think if it was up to me, my gut is telling me that every single rogue spec is A+. That's like, I think every single rogue spec is A+ at the moment. That's what I would put them. Like Outlaw. Is that your gut or your anti-rogue bias? Well, I mean, tell me I'm wrong. Like, tell me why I'm wrong. Here's my, like, when I fight an Outlaw rogue, they still seem like they do really good damage. They have really good control. They're impossible to kill. Like, I just... You put an Outlaw rogue with one of these A+ melee, like an Affliction Warlock, an Ellie, a Shadow Priest, a Frost Mage, like, yeah. Outlaw and Asa are A, Sub is A+. The Dorito the Windwalker Monk is saying that he thinks Sub is a little bit better. He thinks Sub is superior. I actually think most rogues are thinking the same thing. So I won't put every rogue spec at A+, but I think at minimum an A. Outlaw, I think, is really good. Assassination, I think, is really good. And I guess talking to a lot of the rogues, they are saying that they think Sub is probably the overall best right now. So we'll put it at A+. I don't know if I'll put it at S. I'm not going to put it at S. A+, I think, is a good spot for it. Okay, so we kind of just banged out all 3 rogue specs. I know the rogues are doomers because Kidney Shot got nerfed, but even with the Kidney Shot nerfs, rogues still seem quite good. Frosty K, if you ask me, you know, on my last tier list, I had Frosty K at S tier, but I think it got like pretty sizable nerfs. I don't really know where to put it now. Like when I play my Frosty K, it feels way worse, but I might be playing the wrong build. Like, I think what happened with Frosty K is it got nerfed because of PvE. Like, it was OP in PvE, and as a result, it's now just like not that good. Like my gut is like an A, B-ish, AB. Doesn't feel bad. Still kind of tanky. Still got decent setups, but it definitely got knocked down a peg. It was S tier before, and I think it's moved down a few power rankings. You guys may be noticing too, there's a lot of A tier specs, which is a good sign. It's a very good sign. It's a very good sign. Zocane, thanks so much for the sub. Appreciate that. I guess the next thing we could talk about the next thing we could talk about is Lord Illidan Stormrage. I think Lord Illidan Stormrage has been flying under the radar a little bit. Not a lot of Demon Hunters are making content right now, but I've seen some stuff, guys. I've seen some stuff in some war games. I think Lord Illidan Stormrage is quite good. I think it's almost undeniable that Demon Hunters are better than Windwalker Monks. So I at minimum they're A+ for sure. Demon Hunters could be S tier. They could be S tier, but I feel more confident. I'll be conservative. I'll put them at A+ for now. We'll reserve the S tier for Fury and Unholy. Demon Hunters do a lot of damage, and they are very difficult to kill. Super hard to kill. Damage is unstoppable. Really good mobility. Here's a fun little factoid too.
Smile.
I just figured I want to point this out just for the record too, because this one confused me. So you guys know how, like, in the most recent tuning, they nerfed Paralyze for Monk. So Paralyze went from lasting 4 seconds to 3 seconds. And they also nerfed Gouge. So Gouge went from 4 seconds to 3 seconds. Imprisonment didn't get any changes. I don't know why, but nothing happened to Imprisonment. Why do we think that is? I guess they don't want to make everything the same, but like, I think there's a good argument to make that like Monk's Para is like pretty on par. It's a lower CD, I guess. But I mean, Demon Hunters, it is a lower CD, but Demon Hunters also have access to Fear, multiple stuns, like... Anyways, I thought that was interesting. It seems to me that it's like a very comparable ability. But yeah, Lord Illidan Stormrage I think is A+ right now. Feral, I would also put at A+. I think Ferals in general are super strong. They might just be overtuned though. I think one of the reasons why Feral is so strong at the moment, although it does feel durable, it does good damage, it could easily be S. If Feral is S, it's because Ferocious Bite is overtuned, I think. Similar to like, yeah. Yeah. I guess we could put it at S. It seems like people want Feral at S. I do think Feral's very good, but I will say, like, the caveat for Feral being S tier is I think Ferocious Bite just does too much damage. I think there's almost no way it stays at that value. I'd be really surprised. It's like the hardest hitting ability in the game. Maybe it does, and they'll just remain S tier, but I would say that Feral probably going to lose some spots on the power ranking, but we'll put it at S for now. It seems like that's what the people want. I was thinking more A+, but yeah, it's definitely really good. Isn't that the same with Frostmage and Ice Lance? Yep, and I gave that same caveat for Frostmage. I think one of the reasons why Frostmage is S tier right now is its abilities are just giga overtuned. And it has some really broken mechanics too. Like Frostmage has some super broken mechanics that I've pointed out many times. Tweeting about it, talking about it. Ret Paladin. Our good friend Ret Paladin. Actually, we'll save Ret Paladin for last because I know Ret Paladin's always very controversial in my tier list. Arms Warriors, what do we have it at? We had Arms at A. We still thinking the same thing for Arms Warrior? Do we think that Arms Warrior is on the same level as Windwalker and Asa and Outlaw? Or are we moving it down to B? B? Okay. I feel happy with that too. We'll put Arms Warrior down. Arms Warrior could use some love also. I think Arms Warrior likely is the same problem as just it's a tuning thing, which is good news. And I want to do a little bit of a recap on that too. And have like a conclusion. Ret Paladin, our good friend Ret Paladin. Where are you going, man? We're thinking D tier, C tier, B tier. My gut is it's A. I would put Ret at A tier right now. I don't think it's too out of line. It still has really good utility. Same kind of Ret utility it's had. It's a range DPS. I honestly should have put Ret Paladin at the range DPS at this point. I think it needs to be, but I can't see a good Ret Paladin being lower than A. And if it gets some damage buffs, it'll be really, really strong. Okay, so we have everything listed. Keep in mind the Guardian Druid is an Aug Evoker. Now, I want to say something really fast. This is actually a really good spot to be in. I think for healers, we have Prez slightly overtuned and Holy Priest slightly undertuned. Other than that, it's actually not too bad. Like healer balance feels like pretty solid. And these are all like, I don't know, maybe once all the best players in the whole game get a hold of things and people are playing and the meta gets figured out, stuff will change. But for now, all the healers actually feel decent. Fire Mage and Enhancement Shaman, I think, are also at the mercy of changes. If they get some changes, we could see, like, if Fire Mage gets damage buffed, it could easily be A tier. Like, there's no reason why it couldn't be A tier, but unironically, your Pyroblast hit for like 300k. The highest Pyroblast I've seen was like 350k, which is like pretty insane, pretty bad. So I think Fire Mage, if it gets buffed, it could definitely move up. Enhancement Shaman, if it gets buffed, it definitely move up as well. Arms Warrior, if it gets buffed, could move up. And then at that point, you basically have every spec in the game feeling good. So for like a beta? For a beta? I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good moving into the expansion for Arena. I swear, I'm feeling pretty good about it. There's like some things that are slightly overtuned, some things that are slightly undertuned, but for the most part, things are feeling pretty solid, which I'm feeling very optimistic about. And I think my guess would be probably see some changes before the season starts or like a week after the season goes. So if you guys are, you know, one of these specs that's kind of just on the fence, you can stick with it because I think there's a good chance. Also, like if you're playing one of these S tier specs, especially Frost and Feral, I feel like the ones that are most likely to get nerfed are Frost and Feral. Like Frost and Feral are likely going to be nerfed. I would be completely blown away if Frost doesn't get any changes. Yeah. But yeah, this is my final tier list. This is it. This is what I think.